Welcome to our Obstetric Bedside Ultrasound curriculum. We've put together a collection of our favorite online educational videos to master 4 learning objectives on fetal well-being basics. The biophysical profile, or BPP, consists of a non-stress test and 4 observations made by real-time ultrasound, all within 30 minutes. The 5 components of a BPP are the fetal heart rate tracing, or non-stress test, at least 1 episode of fetal breathing, at least 3 body movements, at least 1 flexion or extension like opening and closing of a hand or a kick, and amniotic fluid level assessment. Each component is worth 2 points, which ultimately give you a score out of 10. Each component is all or nothing. No partial credit. The score will always be an even number. Let's look at how to identify each ultrasound component. To observe fetal breathing, identify the fetal diaphragm by placing your probe over the fetal chest in a sagittal position. Watch for rhythmic movements or practice breathing that last for at least 30 seconds. Fetal tone refers to flexion-extension episodes. In this example, you see a flexion and extension of the fetal foot. Other examples of tone include leg kicks or opening and closing of the hand. Fetal movement includes truncal or full-body movements or movements of the arms or legs. This can be subtle, especially in a term fetus. In this video clip, the probe appears stationary but fetal parts are moving. You need to observe at least 3 distinct movements to earn 2 points. While watching and waiting for breathing, keep an eye out for movements like rolling, bending, and stretching. A BPP score is out of 10. 8 out of 10 is reassuring. 6 is equivocal. If less than 37 weeks, then repeat the BPP in 24 hours. A score of 4 is abnormal and delivery may be indicated. It really depends. For a score of 0 to 2, delivery is usually indicated. Of course, scores need to be taken in full clinical context. The BPP is just one piece of data. And don't forget, regardless of your score, if you find oligohydramnios, meaning a DVP of less than 2 centimeters, then further evaluation is always warranted. There are 2 ways to measure amniotic fluid levels. 1. Amniotic fluid index, or AFI, consists of the sum of 4 ultrasound measurements. 2. Deepest vertical pocket, or DVP, refers to a single measurement, the deepest pocket you can find. The DVP in this example is marked with a green box. Normal amniotic fluid volumes include an AFI between 5 and 24 centimeters, or a DVP between 2 and 8 centimeters. Low amniotic fluid is called oligohydramnios and is diagnosed with an AFI of less than 5 or a DVP of less than 2. Abnormally high levels of amniotic fluid is called polyhydramnios and is diagnosed with an AFI greater than or equal to 24 centimeters, which represents the 95th percentile for amniotic fluid volume, or a DVP of greater than or equal to 8. AFI should be used for diagnosing polyhydramnios, whereas DVP is best for accurately diagnosing oligohydramnios. To measure the AFI, visually divide the abdomen into 4 equal quadrants. Measure the deepest pocket within each quadrant. Add them up to get a total AFI. Always hold the probe so that it is perpendicular to the floor to avoid overestimating the AFI due to overlapping pockets from the probe angle. To measure DVP, scan through the abdomen, finding the biggest appearing pocket. Make sure your probe is perpendicular to the ground, freeze the screen, and measure the pocket. Don't forget, each measured amniotic fluid pocket must be at least 1 centimeter wide, and the measured pockets should not contain fetal parts or loops of umbilical cord. Use the color flow feature to ensure no cord is present in your pocket. Let's be systematic when we measure the fetal heart rate by taking the measurement in a 4-chamber heart view. The 4-chamber view is a transverse image through the fetal heart. Use ribs as a clear landmark to make sure your view is truly transverse and avoid unintended oblique views. Use M mode by either clicking the M knob or selecting fetal heart rate on your app depending on which machine you're using. Place the M mode line over the left ventricle and hit the M mode knob again to capture the motion tracing. Hit freeze when you have a tracing with a clear pattern. Measure the heart rate by using the calc features or place calipers between 2 consecutive peaks to calculate the fetal heart rate. A normal fetal heart rate is between 110 and 160 beats per minute. Let's practice obtaining the 4-chamber view by checking the fetal cardiac axis. A fetal cardiac axis is the angle between the long axis of the heart and the midline of the chest. Freeze a 4-chamber view, then place a caliper from the spine to the sternum. This is the midline of your chest. Next, place a caliper through the septum of the heart. Measure the angle between the 2 lines. A normal cardiac axis is 45 degrees plus or minus 20 degrees. Let's compare a normal and abnormal fetal cardiac axis. Before applying calipers, make sure your 4-chamber view is optimal with all 4 chambers visible and only 1 rib visible on either side of the heart, indicating this is truly a transverse view. Now let's apply our calipers and check the cardiac axis. Place 1 caliper to show the midline of the chest and 1 to trace the long axis of the heart through the septum. In the first set of images, the heart appears abnormal, and when measured, the angle is 90 degrees. The second set of images, the heart appears normal, and when measured, the angle is 45 degrees. Remember, a normal cardiac axis ranges from 25 to 65 degrees. This was Lesson 2 of our Obstetric Bedside Ultrasound curriculum. We went over 4 learning objectives on fetal well-being basics. We defined the components and how to interpret the scores of a biophysical profile. We learned how to measure and interpret amniotic fluid levels. We learned to obtain a 4-chamber heart view, measure the heart rate, and describe a normal fetal cardiac axis. For the full-length videos featured today and more awesome ultrasound content, check out our references.